It's time to start our August Cuties table topper. Hey everyone, Cristin here, and we are going to start our August Cuties table topper. So just want to warn you, if you hear any panting in the background, it's Archer. We just got back from a late night walk, so please excuse that. But we are going to start on the center blocks. That will be the first part of our August Cuties. So the center blocks are on page 26 of our booklet, and let's go ahead and go over what supplies that we need. All right, so I did all of my prepping late last night and starting in now. Excited to get started. I love sunflowers, so this will be a really pretty table topper. All right, so we are going to start with our main background fabric. So our main fabric today is this cream colored with lines all over it. It is, I don't know what the name of it is, but anyway, we want 4 pieces of this in 7.5 by 7.5. We're going to start with it at 7.5 by 7.5, and I really recommend definitely backing this with fusible backing, fusible stabilizer of some sort. This is a big piece of fabric and it's a light color, so you want to make sure to not have any of the colors coming through. So and not puckering. That's the biggest thing, not puckering. So 4 pieces at 7.5 by 7.5 for your main fabric. And then we have a few applique pieces, and there's 3 of them. So the first one, these are called Arch. So Arch 1, how cute, for like my Archer. My dog, one of my dogs is Archer. All right, so we are going to, let's see, I think it's this way. So this is Arch 1. So Arch 1, you can see, is this yellow with flowers fabric on it. And I did back my applique pieces with fusible stabilizer. That's optional. Some people choose not to. I definitely prefer to. It makes it easier to cut, in my opinion, to not have all the edges frayed off and for it to lay down nicely without any puckering. So that's my personal preference. So we want 4 pieces of this Arch 1, and they're going to be 3.5 by 4.5. 4 pieces, 3.5 by 4.5. I did back mine with fusible stabilizer. This is Arch 1. All right, and then Arch 2 is another yellow floral fabric. This one is a lighter yellow. You can see the difference here. This one is more of a golden yellow. This one is a lighter yellow with dark yellow flowers on it. So this is Arch 2, and Arch 2, same size. We want this to be 4 pieces at 3.5 by 4.5. All right, 4 pieces, 3.5 by 4.5. And I did back mine with fusible stabilizer. All right, that's Arch 2. So for Arch 3, we want this gold silky solid. All right, gold silky solid. 4 pieces of this. And again, I did back mine with fusible stabilizer. And this is that centerpiece, so it's a little different sizing. This one is going to be 4 pieces at 3.5 by 3.5. 4 pieces, 3.5 by 3.5. And that's it for the applique pieces and the fabrics. Pretty easy, right? And then we have our batting. Whenever we quilt, we have our batting. So our batting, I made an entire batting guide, and I will add this in the video as well so that you can do a screenshot of it. But for this one, for the center blocks, we want 4 pieces that are 6 by 6 for our batting. And I'm using the Kimberbell Project batting. 4 pieces of 6 by 6 batting, okay? And then we are going to quilt this one with center sunflower. And I just saw that for the first time, and oh boy, it's cute. I'm not sure if I downloaded the bundle yet. I think I did. If you have not, please make sure to use our sponsor's affiliate link. Our sponsor is My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. There is a link underneath this video in the video notes of how to get the supplies, and also another link toward a little bit more toward the middle that says to please use their sponsor's affiliate link for purchasing the quilting bundle. And that link just takes you to Kimberbell, and then you type in Cuties 2 and you'll see the bundle come up right away. Easy to do. All right, and it gives a little kickback to our sponsor for sponsoring these group projects with us. All right, so that's this one. It's going to be center sunflower. I did say that it's KDQ 151. There's just, let's see, there's a 5.5, a 5 inch. I think there's a 5 inch size and then the regular size, which I think it says it's probably 6 by 10, but it's a 5.5-inch design. So on the smaller one, for those that have only a smaller hoop, like a 5 by 7 hoop, it's the same quilting design. Everything is the same. They just took out the side edges of the tack down stitch so that it will fit in your hoop, but it's the same design. All right, so the other thing is you're going to want to pick out your thread, and I mentioned in the prep video that I chose my thread colors, and I added information underneath the video of the colors that I'm using. For this one, I am going to use Dijon. All right, Dijon by Glide is what I'm going to be using, and then for the quilting, I'm going to use Cream by Glide, Cream. All right, so, and all that information is also underneath this video. So there's a couple of things on this one. Super important. This one is the biggest, most important thing, is we are going to put the quilting on top of the design, and I will show you how we're going to do that. Even if you're not using embroidery software, you could watch that to get a visual of how to do it, and you can take that knowledge to your embroidery machine and utilize it that way. I'm going to show you on Embellishment Essentials. That is the embroidery software that I use, that I highly recommend. And if you are in the market for embroidery software, please use my affiliate link to purchase Embellishment Essentials, and I'll show you how to use it. Lots and lots of videos of how to use it. So I'm going to bring you over to the computer to show you how to use Embellishment Essentials, and I'm going to put 2-in-1 hooping. You can do all 4 of these center blocks individually if you choose, but the biggest thing is to make sure that you move the quilting design, just the quilting design, to the end of everything so that it goes on top of our project. So we still want that batting placement and tack down, and we still want the main fabric placement and tack down. So those are steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. We still want those at the very beginning of the design, but number 5 is the quilting design, and I'll show you how to move that very easily and how to join them in one hooping if you choose, so that you can save on time and stabilizer. So the other important thing is that it's got a lot of instructions about cutting, and since we're quilting in the hoop, you really don't need to worry about any of that. It looks pretty interesting, and we don't need to do any of that. We're going to make it really easy. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. Really, the easiest way is just measure 1/4 inch past the batting tack down line. That makes it the easiest, in my opinion. You can keep the basting stitch in there and use that as your guide, but if you're going to do that, please make sure to measure it first and make sure that the design still comes out at 5.5 by 5.5, because if you're not stabilizing it quite enough, then the stitches can make it pull in and it can change the size, and then when you're putting it all together, it won't fit right. Okay, so just make sure to measure it if you're going to use that batting tack down as a cut line. Okay, but either way, it's going to be 1/4 inch past that batting tack down. So when I said batting tack down, yeah, if I'm sorry, the what is it, the main fabric basting stitch, if you're going to use that as your cut line. Sorry, I used the word batting, but it's the main fabric basting stitch. That you can use it as a cut line, but like I said, measure the block first to make sure it's still accurate. Okay, 5.5 by 5.5 is what the final size should be. All right, and that's it. Like I said, I'm going to bring you over to the computer to give you a visual of how to move just the quilting part. Of those 5 parts of the quilting design, we're just going to move the last part. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll bring you over to the computer and give you a visual. Hey everyone, I'm at my computer now. I can see that there's like this wavy light on my video cam, and it's just because of my light. I don't know why it does that, but please excuse it. Sorry about that. It's late at night. I try and generally do these videos earlier, but I did not get a chance today. So I'm going to show you how to merge 2 blocks together for our center blocks and how to move that quilting design. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Embellishment Essentials. I don't need this open. I can close that. All right, so I'm going to go to File, New Page. It will automatically, when you open your Embellishments, it will open to a new page if you don't already have it open. All right, and you can see down here at the bottom, I'm on my 9x14 hoop. We don't need that big. I think I can do, you could actually do this in a 9x14 and not have any overlap at all. I think I can fit it in an 8x12 hoop, which would mean a little bit less expensive on the stabilizer. So I'm gonna go ahead and try that. So if you want to change your hoop size, go up to this preferences folder here, click on that, and click on the hoop size that you want. I'm going to look for my 8x12 right there, say okay, and then I like to zoom into the hoop. So you can do that with your mouse, or you can go to this compass button and click H. All right, now I'm going to bring in the quilting design first, but remember we need to move the last part of that quilting design. So I'm going to go to merge stitch file, and it's just asking where is this file that you want me to open. So I know that I have mine, let's see, we'll close up red, white, and bloom, and I have it as the cuties right there on my desktop. And then we have the embroidery files, and there is my quilting bundle. So I'm going to open that. Embroidery files, Pez is what I use for my machine, and we're looking for the center sunflower, and I think it's by month. There it is. So centers and triangles, August. So click on that folder and it will start to populate with the different designs. Now I mentioned if you have a 5x7 hoop that there is an option for that smaller hoop, and you can see here's the 6x10 one. The only difference, the quilting design is the same. The only difference is that they took out those extra side edges of the quilting so that it will fit in your hoop. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the 6x10, and I'm going to go ahead and make some changes to this before I add in a second one. So I'm going to open this plus sign here, and you can see these default blues and oranges. Like I've mentioned every month, if you don't change those colors and you do a color sort, then those will group together, and then you will lose the purpose of being able to, you won't be able to put down your batting and then put down your fabric. It will be all together, so that would be a problem because then you'll have batting in your seams. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just quickly change the colors on here. So I'm going to click on 1-1 and look at my what is it called? My properties tab is gone. Somebody was asking me about this, and so I purposely closed it so I could remember to tell her what went wrong. So now I can tell you. So see, this normally shows our thread colors, and it's gone. So all we do is we go to view up here, see up here in this tab, view, and then click on toolbars and see the properties tab. Properties window is not selected. So I just click that and boom, there's our thread colors again. All right, so back to this. So we're on 1-1, click on the color, and I'm just going to choose the first color that comes up for me, which is dark aqua, and say okay. And it comes up as dark aqua because I have Filtech Glide as my default thread color. So whichever one works for you, whichever one you may have most of thread, whatever works, it doesn't matter. You can even go through here and get the accurate colors that you're going to use, but that just wastes time. I never really pay attention to that part once I get to the embroidery machine anyway. So I'm just choosing the first color that comes up for me, which is dark aqua, and say okay. All right, and then 1-2, click on the color, and the first color that comes up is Blaze. And then 1-3, click on the color. We already used dark aqua. You can see it right here. So I'm going to go ahead to the second color, which is Marine. And then 1-4, click on the color. Second color is Oriole for me. All right, and then same thing with this quilting design. I'm going to click on that, and that's what I was saying about 1-5. This is the fifth part of the quilting design is the actual quilting file, and so that's the one that we want to move to the very end so that it is on the top of our project, and I'll show you what that means. All right, so for now I'm just going to click on the color and I'm going to choose Sprout and say okay. All right, so that's all done. I'm going to click outside. You can do it in here or in here, but you just want to make sure that nothing is selected, which right now we're on 1-5. So I'm just going to click outside so that that is not selected. All right, and then you can do this a couple of ways. You could click here and drag to get all of this design, or you can close this window and just click that. I just want to be able to move it, so you want to make sure that all 5 parts are selected. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my arrow keys on my keyboard to move that up. All right. And like I've said before, make sure you're not going over this hoop line. All right. If you go over that hoop line, it will cause havoc once you get to your machine. It usually will turn red here and tell you that you're over the hoop, but it might just be close, just close enough that it will cause a problem and not tell you on here. And when you get to your machine will be finicky. So just don't go over those hoop lines. All right, so that is the first one. I'm going to go ahead and say Control C on my keyboard to copy and Control V like victory to paste. And now I have a second one. I could have brought in a second file the same way that I did the first one, but this way the colors are already changed. So that's better in my opinion. Now it doesn't look like anything's there because it's right on top of that first one, but you can see here that instead of one design, we have two. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use my arrow keys to bring this down, and you can use your mouse to move the design, or you can use your keyboard and the arrow keys on your keyboard, and using the arrow keys on your keyboard just keeps it perfectly centered, which actually doesn't really matter, but OCD brain makes it work well. All right, I'm going to close up number 2. So those are both our quilting designs, and those are done for now. Don't forget we need to move that 5th part, and I'll show you how. All right, so now we're going to bring in the around the block design, the actual embroidery design. So I'm going to go to Merge Stitch File, and I'm going to close up this quilting because we're done with that for now. And I am going to go to the embroidery files. Pez is what I use for my machine. And there it is right there, around the block. It's a 5x7, so I'm going to double click on that, and it goes to the center. Now, notice it's got these placement guides, so let's try it that way first. So I'm going to click on this design, and I'm just going to move it up using my arrow keys. So it looks like we're going to go to the outer edge, and that works just fine. So what I want to show you here, look at all these default blues and oranges, by the way. So we're going to want to do a color sort before we bring in, actually, no, we're not. We're going to want to do all of these too, now that I think about it. All right, so first let's talk about the orientation of this. So what it does is it's bringing in this placement guide for us. It's probably actually a trimming guide, but it makes it so that we can put that right on top of this outer line. So there's one at the top and one at the bottom and both sides, but this helps me to just show you. All right, in fact, if I move it, all right, so right here, so this is the placement and tack down of our main fabric. This inner one is the placement and tack down of our batting, but this outer one, the farthest point, is always our placement and tack down of our main fabric. And you can see it down here as well. So we would want to use these gray lines to line up with these lines here. So that's the easiest way since it has these here for us. So you can move it around and probably get it pretty exact. So I used my arrow keys to keep it straight. If you move it with your mouse, you can still use these tick lines to get it lined up just right. So once we have it there, then you can go to this compass button and you can move this crosshairs. I'm going to just move it to here, and then I'm going to zoom in and look at it's right on. So that's a very easy way to do it. We could do the align and distribute and all that, but really with these trimming guidelines, that makes it very easy to do. So you can see that this is lined up just right. The other way that you can check is on that top part. See, again, it's right on it. So this is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this. This is perfect. All right, and then I'm going to go back to this compass and click H to have it zoom out and have it just right. Now, before we bring in that second one, or actually just do a copy and paste, we have to change all of these because there's a lot of blues and oranges, and we can make it so that we can still do a color sort so that we're working on 2 projects at once. So we would just change those colors like we did on the quilting. So I'm going to click outside so that nothing is selected, and then go back to 3-1. So I'm going to close this for a second so you can see. It's the 3rd design because we have our quilting and then our embroidery design. So eventually we'll have 4 designs, but we need to first change the colors of this one. So I just clicked this plus sign to open it. and I'm going to click on this first one, default one blue. Now remember that we used the first two colors in our quilting, so we have to keep that in mind, and you can always scroll up and open those if you don't remember what they were. So I'm going to click on this first one. I already used dark aqua and marine, so I'm going to use the third color down, which for me is Hawaiian blue, and I'll say okay. And then 3, 2, click on the color, and we already used Blaze and Oriole, so I'm going to use the third color down, which for me is Coral. And then 3, 3, this is Buttercup, but there's another Buttercup. There's 3 Buttercups, so these are those appliques. So I'm going to go ahead and just change this as well. So click on 3, 3, and then click on the color. The first color that comes up for me is Buttercup. That's funny because it's already Buttercup. I'm going to go ahead and keep that one as the first color, and then I'll change the other ones. So 3, 4, click on the color, and we want the fourth color down now because we already used Hawaiian blue. You can see it right here. So I'm going to go to Mercury and say okay. And then 3, 5, click on the color, and we want the fourth color down, which is Lava, because the last one we used was Coral. All right, and then 3, 6, there's that Buttercup. We don't want those to join together because that would be a big problem. We want to make sure that these are separated. So I'm going to use the second color down, which is Canary for me. All right, and then 3, 7, click on the color. The last one we used was Mercury right there. So I'm going to go down to Tropical and say okay. 3, 8, click on the color, and the last one we used was Lava. So I'm going to go down to Strawberry Blonde. Strawberry Blonde always makes me think of my son, and he called me last night, and he's such a good kid. I love him. All right, and say okay. And my son, it has blondish brownish hair, but when he grows a beard, it's strawberry blonde. That's why I always think of him. He's like my little Irishman. All right, and then 3, 9, we are going to click on the color, and the last one we used was Canary, so I'm going to go to Mango. That's a fun one. All right, and then default gray, there's only one, but I'm going to go ahead and change it just so that we've got them all going on. So I'm going to change it to medium gray. All right, so those are done. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and then I'm going to click outside, and I'm going to click on the design to make sure that all of the parts are selected, and I'm going to say Control C to copy, and then Control V like victory to paste. Now I have a second design, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just bring this down. This is the fourth design because we have 2 quilting designs and now 2 of the embroidery design. And remember, we want to line this up on that outer box right there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just to make sure. And look at that, you can't even see the other line. It's so perfectly on there. I'm going to check the bottom part too just to make sure. And there it is. Perfect. All right, so that was super easy to do. I like that little trimming guide. I'm 100% sure that we won't need that trimming guide. I think it's for the people that are not quilting in the hoop, so we will very likely bypass it, but it was nice to be able to use it to be able to place this so well. So that worked out really well. All right, so I'm going to close this number 4. I've got the 4 designs. I can get it down because right now we've got 30 color steps. But don't forget, we have to move that quilting design. Very important. The other thing that's really important is you want to make sure that these are lined up before we do a color sort, because once you do a color sort, you can't move the designs at all. So make sure that you're right on that outer line on both of your designs. And then now what we're going to do something a little different. I've shown it before, but it's probably a little different way of doing it. So I'm on this first tab. For yours it'll probably say Untitled 1. I'm on Untitled 2 just because I closed that other page that I had open. So I'm going to go to File, New Page. All right, and it opens another tab, and there's nothing on this tab right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that first tab, and I am going to click down from the bottom and drag up so that I get all 4 designs. Make sure you've got all 4 designs selected, and then I'm going to say Control C to copy those, and I'm going to go to that new tab that we just created, and I'm going to say Control V like victory to paste it. All right, and then we have those 4 designs. All right, there's those 4 designs. I'm going to work off of this one, the first tab, and just use this second one for a minute to show you. All right, so on this first one, let me see here. I have to think for a second. So I am going to open up number 1, and I'm going to click on this sprout right here. So if we didn't move these around, then what would happen is we would have our quilting all done on top of our batting, and then we would start putting all the fabrics on top of the quilting. All right, we don't want that, right? We would have all of these applique pieces would be on top of our quilting. We would not see any of the quilting. So that's why we're moving it. All right, in case you didn't have that visual, I'm giving you a visual of why it's important to do this. So I'm on that first tab, and I'm going to click on 1-5, and I'm going to click delete. All right, and our quilting is gone. Now I'm going to open up number 2, and same thing, I'm going to click on 2-5, that quilting design, and I'm going to click delete. All right, so now if I close these, you can see I have, well, let's open this so you can see. I've got the placement and tack down of the batting, the placement and tack down of the main fabric, and then I go right into those embroidery designs where I put all those applique pieces down. All right, so that's our 1-4, but there's no quilting. We want the quilting on the top. So now I'm going to go to that other tab right here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete 3 and 4. I don't need 3 and 4. I'm just going to say delete. So I clicked out from the right edge and dragged over to be able to get those. Now I'm going to open up number 1, and same thing, I'm going to click from over on the right hand side, and I'm going to drag over, and I want 1 through 4. 1 through 1-4 of this first design. The first 4 parts, I'm going to click delete. I don't want those, okay? I just want that quilting design. Same thing on number 2. I'm going to click on, I clicked on that plus sign to open up the design so I can see all the elements of that design. And I'm going to click on 1 through 4, or 2 through 4, sorry, because this is design 2, but steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to click delete on my keyboard. All right, so now you can see I have just the quilting designs, but they're already moved in the right position. And that's why I did it that way by opening a new tab. It makes it really easy to keep it lined up how it should be. So I'm going to close these. You don't have to, but I always seem to. So I'm going to click down from the bottom and drag up, and I'm going to say Control C to copy. And I'm going to go to that first tab, and I'm going to click anywhere in the design or in the folder, it doesn't matter, not the folder, the window, and I'm going to say Control V like victory to paste, and see what it did. It put those quilting designs at the bottom. I'm going to close this so you can see, and I'm going to click outside of the design. So you can see we have our quilting, which is just that placement and tack down of batting and placement and tack down of the main fabric, and then we have all of the applique designs, and then the last step is those quilting designs, so that now they're going to be on the top. You can see we'll be able to see that on top of all those applique pieces. So that worked out really easily and really perfectly, but we still have 30 color steps, and we can bring that down quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Because we changed all these colors, we're going to be able to bring it down to, I'm assuming, about 15 color steps, but let's just check. So I'm going to go to Utility, Color Sort, and remember, while we're here, you have to have these same settings that I have. Tolerance is at 0. That's the biggest thing. Tolerance 0, and then these are not selected. All right. To be able to get the same settings that I'm getting, you have to make sure that you've got the same settings in your color sort. All right, now always click New View, because you never know, we may have made a mistake or not thought of something. So click New View, and it opens another tab. See, right now we have 2 tabs. We'll have another one now. So there's our third tab, and then we can quickly run through it. You can see that we have 15 color steps, so that is great. A lot less time, a lot less effort. So I'm going to say plus, open that plus sign, and then I'm just going to quickly run through these to check and make sure that they did what we think they should do. So there's our placement of our batting and our tack down of our batting, placement of the main fabric, tack down of the main fabric, and then that first applique, placement and tack down, and then the decorative stitch of that first applique, the second applique, placement and tack down and decorative stitch, and then the third applique, placement and tack down and decorative stitch. All right, and then we've got those trimming guides, and that's the one I'm saying that I will bypass that. We don't need it because you can see it's right on our other stitch that we have, so we don't need it at all. And then we have lastly our quilting design. So that worked out perfectly. I'm very, very happy with that. A lot less color steps. That was super easy to do, and it got us some more practice with Embrilliance Essentials. All right, so I'm going to do a file, save stitch file as, and I am going to go to my Cuties folder right there, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. Actually, I'm going to go to my embroidery file and save it where I have the other around the block right there. So I'm just going to name this Center August times 2. 7. Center August times 2. That will help me to find it easily. Whatever you want to name yours to help you find it easily will work fine. And then I'm going to click save. My machine's not on, or I could save it to my machine. But if you don't have that, you would just put a USB stick into your computer and copy it over to your USB stick. All right, very easy, and let's go ahead and get started stitching. my shirt today is a really old one. It is a boxer with a heart and life symbol. I'm not sure what you call that, like a heart signal, something like that. Anyway, I don't recall where I got it. If I have that information on my computer, I will add it in the video notes. My guess is I probably don't, because my hard drive failed and I don't have access to those files. But if I happen to have that information, and I will look, it would always be in the video notes. So I do have people asking me all the time, where'd you get the design that's on your shirt? And it's always in the video notes on every single video. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll see where I've added a direct link for you, so for the designs that I know of. This one I'm not sure, it's pretty old, but I will check and see if I have it. And as always, I want to hear about your goal. What is your goal for this project? How are you working it? What are you doing on it? I know my friend Mary is out walking 4 miles a day. She's doing great. I'm so proud of her. So my goal is building strength. I've been working really hard on it. Last night I actually did a run. So my favorite iFit trainer, I have a Nordic Track treadmill, and my favorite trainer, there's a lot of trainers on iFit and I love them all, but my favorite is Paulo Barreto. I love him. He's great. He's very inspiring and he talks to you like you can do anything, and just a really, really great workout every time. So I did a hike with him in Wyoming, and it was just a walk. So I upped my treadmill and I turned it into a run, and had a great workout with that. And then after I finished my run, I did a strength training workout with Kelsey Sheehan. She is great. She's a wonderful trainer for strength training. So I did so much strength training that my triceps today, oh, they're so sore. But I'm building, pretty good, right? Except those triceps really hurt today. Like my arms are like jello today. But got a great workout. So tell me, how are you doing with your workouts?